Oh, a mic. Yeah, I like having a mic. It feels more something. I don't know.
So this is the third time that I've been here, and James has been here, pretty much every film he's made premieres here. So I'm excited to be here with James. I know how revered he is and how loved he is over here.
It still feels exciting. I am by no means common being like, this is old hat. It means a lot. And the films that I've come here with have meant a lot. How the obstacles that the directors had to overcome to make them, like Terry Gilliam and Francis Ford Coppola. People that I didn't know before that I always admired, like James Gray. Being here with Leos Carax meant a lot to me. Jim Jarmusch and his history with the Cannes Film Festival, for Patterson to be the first film that we had done together, and the reception of it here has a special meaning for me only. He had reached out to me about a project, and the timing didn't work out. I was in the middle of something else at the time, and so I reached out to him and said, whatever you're working on next, be great to work with you. So then, like 6 months to a year later, he called me. He's actually, I do have something, and would you be interested in reading? And of course, and we met.
I met with James at a restaurant. I knew that this movie was in a lot of ways a successor to Armageddon Time, and I just watched Armageddon Time before meeting with James. I was very excited, just the fact that he was wanting me to play this part. It's a very personal story for James, and so we sat and chatted for a little bit about it, and I think when I met him, he's like, we're gonna start filming in a month, or in like 2 weeks or something, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Oh, I'm not one to pick favorites, because that makes me uncomfortable. So I watched recently was Two Lovers. I really love that film.
So I had started with like The Immigrant and Ad Astra and Lost City of Z. And then the Criterion Channel was doing a retrospective on New York films, on We Own the Night, Two Lovers, and The Yards. And I saw The Yards and We Own the Night, and I thought they were awesome. That it seemed to be like a little theater troupe that he had, that the same actors returned and different, I thought was great. Some of the sequences were great. And then it started to put his lighter films in perspective, the choices that he was making, but that the heart of all of his films were these family dynamics and brother dynamics. And it's clear that he values character over spectacle, but also has an incredible film discipline.
Well, Adam's such a gifted actor. When you're working with him, he's doing something different every time. He really keeps the scenes alive, which is, it's wonderful. It makes it easy to respond to. But yeah, I'd met Adam. We had hung out a couple times. I think just throughout the years being at the same events, I was so excited to get to film with him, because I feel like you get to know somebody on a very personal level when you're spending the amount of time that you are when you're making a movie together. Scarlett, she's just such an incredibly talented artist, but as a person, she's just for her being, one of the biggest movie stars in the world, she's very accessible and down to earth. She's great, man. I had a heck of a time hanging out with her.
The writing was very clear. There was not much we had to put on top of it. We had 2 weeks of rehearsal where James Gray was talking about why he wrote what he wrote and how it relates to him. And then we all were very forthcoming with our sibling dynamics and what we related to about the scenes. An immediate comfort and, camaraderie is formed. And because he's a good actor and playful and is willing to kind of go anywhere, and we were given the space to do that with James. And with Scarlett, I had worked with her before. I know her. There was already a history that we didn't have to work. I love working with Scarlett.
There was something that it was the most, mature as far as life experience. For me, that was something that I was kind of struggling to. I just feel like you can't fully comprehend and understand what it means to be a dad until you are one. So I tried my best, but it was important for Scarlett and I to sit with the kids and, go over kind of what our family dynamic is, but what are kind of our rules of the house, how would we, to fill in the gaps of how we would have raised them, yeah. Yeah, I would absolutely be very protective of my family. It's something that I admire from Erwin in this story, that even though he seems maybe weak to some, when it comes down to it, he's going to do everything that he can to kind of honor his family. I think it's always the day one, scene one. And it's just a very simple scene where I think I'm just at the Chinese restaurant. That was really the first scene that we shot. Like whenever you kind of go into something and there's not a ton of rehearsal time, you gotta kind of find it pretty fast. Most complicated? I don't know. I think that if the script is good and the actors are good and the director is as capable as James Gray is, then, I don't recall any scene being too complicated.
I would say one of them that was a little surprising, there was a scene with Miles and I in the basement where we walk through the plan, and I think on the page it could read expository, like that it was just information. But I think when we were shooting it, James kind of gave a directive that all of Gary's decisions are based on love, and that helps dial in how extreme some of the choices could be. That scene was surprisingly intimate in shooting it, because all he's saying is, I can't wait for you to get on board with this idea, and this could be a realization of kind of a lifetime goal of us working together. That was surprisingly moving. Difficult to shoot this sequence in the reeds at the end. There was a lightning storm when we were shooting it, and there's a rule that if a lightning strikes within a certain vicinity of your set, you have to shut down for 30 minutes. And for shutting down for 30 minutes on a movie like ours, which didn't have a lot of money and we're racing time, was challenging. I would say a tragedy around, brotherly love.
Two brothers chasing the American dream, who are trying their best to do better for themselves and their family, and becomes a bit tragic for them.